This is CNN Breaking News.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this Saturday. I'm Frederica Whitfield, and we begin with this breaking news out of Minnesota. CNN is learning that a man has died after a shooting involving federal agents in Minneapolis. The Department of Homeland Security says the man was armed, and it comes as thousands have taken to the streets to protest the ongoing immigration crackdown in the city. This hour, Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino is scheduled to hold a press conference. We'll bring that to you as it happens live. Meantime, CNN's Rafael Romo is with us with details that you're learning out in Minneapolis. Of course, sub-zero temperatures. Right. It is freezing, but it has not deterred people from getting on the streets. What do we think happened here?
Yeah, and it's a situation where we're learning, we're telling people what's happening as we go on the air. And just before 10 this morning, local time, the city of Minneapolis posted a message on their X account acknowledging the local officials are aware of reports of another shooting involving federal law enforcement. A Department of Homeland Security official later said an individual who was shot, quote, had a firearm with 2 magazines. The official also provided a photo of the purported firearm, which appears to be a 6-hour Emperor Scorpion. According to the Post, the shooting happened in the area of 26th Street West and Nicollet Avenue, adding that officials are working to confirm additional details and asking the public to remain calm and avoid the immediate area. These are images from CNN Minneapolis affiliate WCCO showing people protesting at the site of the shooting, where federal agents have cordoned off the area and are keeping watch. There are still many questions about how this happened. We don't know if the man was openly wielding his firearm or if it was concealed at the time he was shot. Did he have a permit to carry the firearm? That's another question for which we have no answer yet, as the Department of Homeland Security has not described the circumstances surrounding the shooting. Of course, this is happening less than 3 weeks since the fatal shooting of Renee Good, also in Minneapolis. Fred, we now have reaction from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He said he has spoken with the White House about the incident, which he described as sickening, and called for the end of an aggressive immigration enforcement effort. I just spoke with the White House after another horrific shooting, he said, by federal agents this morning. Minnesota has had it. This is sickening, Walz said. He added that, quote, the president must end this operation, pull the thousands of violent, untrained officers out of Minnesota now, end quote. Finally, Fred, we have also heard from Hennepin County District Attorney Mary Moriarty. She released a statement after the shooting, and it says the following: we are working on reports of a federal agent having shot an individual in Minneapolis this morning. We are working with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to coordinate a state response. So again, it happened less than 3 hours ago, and officials there locally are working the scene right now. There's been calls from state officials and local officials to secure the scene so that they can investigate what happened there.
And do we know anything about what was taking place in that general vicinity?
We have seen the video, but we need, of course, as CNN, a responsible media organization, we need to verify the authenticity of the video, and we also have to geolocate the video, but it is very, very hard to watch. And the area where it happened, we could see people that had congregated there apparently to protest ICE, but we do not know at this time if it happened after the shooting or whether there was already were already people there at that location.
Yeah, very important to go through those authenticity checks and to triple check as well. Thank you so much, Rafael Romo. We'll check back with you after a lot of that has taken place. And live pictures right now of an area where there is tear gassing taking place. Again, don't know the circumstances, what's preceded this. We, of course, see people in silhouette there walking around, some presumably with immigration authorities there, and you can hear the flashbangs there too as it's taking off. These are live pictures right now, 11 o'clock Central Time there, Minneapolis. Let's go now to CNN senior White House reporter Betsy Klein. You are at the White House. What are you learning from DHS?
Right. Well, this is a very fluid and evolving situation, Frederica. The White House monitoring this very closely, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. And we do know, according to a Department of Homeland Security official, that the man who was shot and appeared to be surrounded by federal agents in that video, again, which CNN has not yet authenticated, was armed, according to that DHS official. They said he had a firearm with 2 magazines. They also added that this situation is evolving. They will provide additional details as they are able to. But we also obtained a photo of this purported firearm. It appears to be a Sig Sauer Emperor Scorpion. It is pictured on a car seat. It is not clear at this time if that is the seat of the person, the car belonging to the person who was shot, or if it is belonging to a federal officer. It is not clear if that man was openly wielding his firearm at the time he was shot, if it was concealed, or if it was inside that car. It's also unclear if he had a permit to carry that firearm, which is required in the state of Minnesota. But of course, this incident comes amid very high tensions on the ground in Minneapolis, about 3 weeks after the fatal officer-involved shooting of Renee Good. And as you mentioned, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has spoken with the White House. He called this sickening and called for federal agents to withdraw from Minnesota. We've asked the White House for details on that call, as well as whether the president has been briefed. We just don't know at this point. Again, this situation incredibly fluid, but it also comes as there has been a bit of a shift in tone from President Trump as well as Vice President J.D. Vance over the past few days, acknowledging that these ICE officials and other federal agents on the ground can make mistakes. We will be watching very closely how they react to this, whether this was a mistake or whether they believe this official was justified in that shooting. Frederica.
All right, Betsy Klein, keep us posted as you learn more. Thank you so much. Let's get more now from the perspective of former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis. Good to see you, Commissioner. We just heard DHS officials saying the man who was killed was armed. As a former police commissioner, what questions do you have right now? Again, very early stages. We don't have a whole lot of details, but what are your instincts telling you right now?
Well, good afternoon. It is very early to be making pronouncements on what happened here. I had a chance to view the video slowed down, but there's a big crowd around the suspect, and it's hard to tell exactly what was going on. I think the press conference is going to be very important, because if this suspect was in possession of a firearm, either wielding it or had immediate ability to use it, then the use of lethal force is justifiable. If the firearm is in his car or unavailable to him, it would be inappropriate to do that. And I think this is what this whole situation hinges upon. But the larger picture is: are these tactics appropriate for the mission? You know, is it helpful to have these violent arrests occurring in a community that has a lot of guns? I mean, there's a lot of guns out there on the street in every city, but Minneapolis particularly. And so the tragedy is, if this continues, they'll probably run into more situations like this, and more people will die.
Well, you said some very important selection of words there when you're asking the question, are these tactics even appropriate? Because let's be reminded, the reason why the White House had deployed through DHS deployed so many federal authorities there to the Minneapolis area was to detain what they said were people who were illegal, who had perhaps criminal backgrounds, who were dangerous, and then that also helped precipitate protests. People who were speaking out against this operation, bringing so many federal authorities, and now a greater deployment in response to the protests. So when you're asking the questions, are these tactics appropriate, or is that imposed on the response to the protests that have taken place, or from the very beginning, the deployment of thousands of federal authorities in which to detain people who are suspected of being illegal?
I believe we have to look at the whole situation from the beginning. There's people dying there, and that's not acceptable in our country. That people are dying, maybe needlessly. We don't know until the investigation's over. But I will tell you that in policing, there's a concept of the high risk felony stop. So you're after somebody who's a murderer or someone who's known to have firearms and has violent tendencies. You handle that person differently than you handle a motor vehicle stop or something that is a lesser crime. And that distinction is really important. And it doesn't seem as though that distinction is being adhered to in this situation. It's almost like everyone is being treated as if they're high-risk felony suspects, and I think that's one of the problems.
What are you hoping to hear from Greg Bovino? There was a scheduled press conference for the noon Eastern hour that was ahead of information that we learned that this is breaking now, information about one person killed involving some sort of interaction or conflict with federal authorities there. What are some of the details that you're hoping to hear from him? As we're hearing what sound to be more deployments of pepper sprays, and we're looking at live pictures right now. Now you've got what appear to be those officers that are leaving that crime scene tape or detainment tape and now crossing over into what looks like, some melee, but we can't really explain it because our point of view is very limited here. What are your concerns?
Well, a few. I mean, as far as the press conference, they should be as transparent as possible. They should be sending a message of calm to the community and to their officers, and they should be explaining if, in fact, there was a gun, it should be shown. As much information as they have that's valid information should be released immediately. But the larger issue is looking at the whole picture and maybe, peeling back some of this unbridled support for everyone out there.